Well, it's time to connect some pieces of the big puzzle. For today, I chose 3 pieces. Let's continue talking about AI agents, and let's connect that to medieval obesity and the Industrial Revolution. What about that? Welcome to the Big Puzzle. In this podcast, we explore the subtle connections between science, religion, politics, economics, and history. One piece at a time, we unveil the big picture of this shared experience that we call life. So, let's start with the medieval obesity. What do I mean by this? Well, you probably know that in medieval times and until fairly recent times, being fat, being obese, was a sign of wealth. So you see some of the paintings, of these rich people, kings, powerful people, and they were all very, very fat. And the other thing that was considered a sign of beauty was to have your skin as white as possible. They even powder their faces to make it even whiter, and that has nothing to do with racism or anything. It was just a manifestation, a demonstration to the people that you didn't work outside. You didn't need to be on the fields or do any physical work. Actually, physical work was considered to be a sign of poverty because it mostly was. So people that were in shape and tanned, well, they were that way because it was the only way that they could survive. They had to work all day long hours, just to provide for their very basic needs. They barely got enough food to survive, so there was no room for obesity in the lower classes. Now you might say, well, it's a good thing for the wealthy people not having to be outside. I myself had skin cancer in a couple of places, and maybe I wouldn't be spending so much time outside. That wouldn't be an issue. On the other hand, you need vitamin D from the sun, and also being overweight and having diabetes, I don't think it's a very good idea. So now wealthy people flex in different ways, right? They just show their collection of exotic cars or having, very expensive weddings like we've seen recently. But everything changed with the Industrial Revolution, because suddenly you didn't need to do physical work all day long. Many of the jobs kind of disappeared. The muscle force or muscle work was replaced by the power of steam, and the steam then led to electricity, and also the development of steam engines eventually turned into ice. Not the ice that everybody's talking about now, but the internal combustion engines. All of those things are way more powerful than our muscles. So suddenly everybody could live like kings. You didn't need to work physically on the fields. Unfortunately, some people in the world still do, and they're in very good shape, but not by choice. But what happened with this is that once you start living like kings, having the type of life, you know, having running water, heated water, heating, air conditioning, things that not even the kings had in the past. Now we take them for granted. But I was mentioning the side effects, like from obesity, like you know, heart problems or diabetes. Now we are not exclusive for royalty. Everybody can get them, and we do get them. And the same thing, you know, with getting tanned and so on. You don't need to be outside all day long. And what ended up happening is that, you know, you started making those things by choice. So if somebody would have told you, I don't know, in the 1500s, that there was a thing that was called a gym where people would go and exercise and waste their, you know, strength performing nothing and actually paying to go to those places, you would say you're crazy. Why would you do that? Why anybody would do that? But now we do it because now we understand that with the Industrial Revolution we lost the need to be healthy. So we have to develop that health by forcing ourselves to do things that, again, we were not required to. Most of us, I mean, by our jobs. So that's an interesting development, right? How the standards of beauty and of power really change. But how do we connect this with a third piece? And this third piece is AI. Like we're talking about AI agents and how AI agents are really good at doing things that many people are doing. I was talking about the Industrial Revolution and I mentioned how many people lost their jobs. It's not like they lost their jobs, that they were fired, but they were replaced by the new technology. Why have oxen when you have a tractor that is way cheaper and does 10 times the production, and that allows, you know, everybody to become way wealthy. Like I was saying, we all live like kings, better than any kings from the past. Well, the same thing will happen with AI. Many jobs will disappear, and it's not like you're going to be fired, or maybe you will, but if you are not wise in what you do with your time, you will be replaced. I was talking to some friends about these things, you know, what would be the first things to be replaced. I think that doctors in medicine should be a little worried. Any of us could go and get, you know, our blood work, and when we get the results we can just send them to ChatGPT, and it will give us a fairly good description of what we have, of what we should be doing, of what everything means, the combinations, and it's very difficult for a human to compete with that, right? And in some other, you know, discussion we can talk about, okay, what is the strategy? Because in all these things you basically need to move to a new position, right? It's not like the Industrial Revolution killed people, or now we have less people than before because we're replaced by machines. Quite the contrary, there was an explosion. But new jobs appear, right? So it was very clever to become a mechanic and learn about those things, because now you are in charge of the machines. And when they break, and when you need to build a new one, and when you want to make them more efficient, well, you have the knowledge how to do that, so you become more important than the farmer, right? And something similar is going to happen, but again, we need to prepare for that. But this idea of the physical gyms where you go and exercise your muscles to be healthy, the same concept applies to your brain. to our brains. We need to create mental gyms, if you will. I'm not talking about mental gymnastics, that's a different thing. But mental gyms, so we need to learn to solve problems that are not required to be solved. Interestingly enough, I've been wanting to do this video since I was on vacation, and for one reason or another never took the time. But I was taking notes about talking about the things, and this morning I was watching a video from Sabina Hossenfelder, and basically it was about a study some MIT people made about people who wrote essays using AI compared to people who actually wrote without any external help or artificial intelligence help, and how the people who used AI became dumber and dumber, and that was kind of worrying. But that's the same thing that happened in the Industrial Revolution. You're not forced to use your brain now. You can delegate pretty much everything to AI, to technology, but in the end you will get the bad consequences of doing that. Like we're talking about diabetes, heart problems. Well, there's similar things that will happen to your brain. You will become dumber. You won't be able to solve problems because you lost that ability. I'm surprised that people now, for instance, they don't know how to read maps. Well, some younger people, they don't know how to read. That's even worse. But we rely on GPS and navigators give you instructions what to do. And yeah, well, okay, you can live the rest of your life doing that. But what will be your life about? I often talk about the purpose of our life, and it's to be challenged, it's to become better. We were all given a set of talents, resources, skills, whatever you want to call them. Well, we need to demonstrate what are we going to do with those. So I think that there's a valid I can remember if I mentioned it, but in that video, Sabina, she ended up talking about that we should have mental gyms. I say, oh my goodness, she stole my idea. If you want to believe that I plagiarized her, please do. I'm satisfied to know that very, very smart people reach the same conclusions I am reaching. But even if you think about it, it could be a business opportunity. I don't know. If you're business oriented, maybe you say, well, yeah, like instead of putting a physical gym, let's create a mental gym. Those used to be universities, but universities are not adapting to this new reality. And it's not new. I mean, it happened when I was in college. It started at that point, even before we had access to internet like we have today. So universities lost their opportunity. But I don't know, maybe creating groups to debate stuff or to solve fake problems. Maybe it's just about to pick a hobby and something that forces you to learn, not because you're forced by the circumstances, but you're forced by yourself to keep your mind active. I always talk about what a mind is and how it's just an interconnection of concepts, and it's supposed to be fluid. So whenever you're learning something, you're changing your mind. New connections appear, old connections disappear, and so on. So if you're not learning, those connections become more, the current one become more and more ingrained or more and more table. Okay, somebody is celebrating. And the rest of your mind starts dying. So people who are not trying to learn stuff, well, their decay is faster. So no matter what it is, I don't say it has to be something productive. Like going to the gym, right? You just are increasing the entropy of the universe. Gyms are probably the most inefficient thing ever. Well, these mental gyms maybe should be the same way. Nobody cares about the product, right? This is not about solving real world problems, or could be, but just, I don't know, maybe the idea of a chess club, right? But more broad. So how can you solve fake problems and use your mind? Well, you know, the Greeks had this saying, mens sana. Oh, sorry, maybe they're not the Greeks. I just realized this is Latin. So mens sana in corpore sano. That means a healthy brain in a healthy body. And the whole idea was take care of your body, and your mind will be healthy. Maybe we should start thinking about mens sana in mens sana. We should aim directly at our minds. That's when I say be human. Don't let the AI make all the decisions for you. Don't delegate your agency to an agent. Well, I don't know. Those were my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Am I missing something, or do you have ideas how to expand this? So if you do, just leave a comment. That will be it then. So see you in the next one.